Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. It's so good to see all of you. And we've got, oh, there we are. Now everyone's on screen and y'all just, if you need to get off screen for us for a minute, we'll just know you're still here. So anyway, this is October 10th and this is God Talk. And we'll just get started with our usual icebreaker. So since I'm traveling today, we stopped by Starbucks this morning and Lisa, who was driving, that's Marco's caregiver. I had her go ahead and place the order and she got me a large coffee, and so I'm all hyped. So that's our icebreaker question tonight: is coffee, tea, something else? How do you take it? That's I'm just Coffee, Tea, or Me. If you're my age, you might remember that movie. So with our introductions, we say the name we want to go by on this call tonight, our pronouns, and the answer to the icebreaker question. So I'm Carol, she, her, and I usually just drink black coffee. I drink a lot of decaf so I can drink more. But today I had a chocolate cream cold brew.
That sounds good.
Okay, so let's just go in the order that we got on screen. So Suzette, you go next.
Okay. Sorry, yes. I'm Suzette, and what am I supposed to tell you?
Coffee, tea, or something else, and how do you take?
Your pronouns.
Oh, I'm a she, her for today, and I like black coffee like a lot, but if I'm gonna go off keto, I'll drink something frozen from Starbucks. I like that very much. Some kind of frappe thing. I don't do it very often. I try not to, but I like sugar. My daughter-in-law is like, I've never seen you eat bread. It's like, because it has carbs. But anyway, I like coffee.
Nice. Okay, Lynn.
Okay, so I'm Lynn, she, her. And since I quit, when I became a non-smoker, I quit drinking coffee. Coffee and cigarettes. And so I switched to tea. And I am a fervent consumer of decaf green tea, decaf black tea, and green tea sometimes, and just all kinds of tea. I have learned to love tea with lemon and honey. No
Nice.
sugar, lemon and honey.
Nice. Okay, Leo or Jared or both?
Oh, no, not at all, because I don't drink any tea, coffee, or anything.
You drink tea sometimes. Okay. My name is Leo. Pronouns are he, him. I used to work at Starbucks, but I don't go there often because it's too expensive. But my favorite drinks, we usually stop at Starbucks if we're leaving out of town. I usually make coffee here at home, but it has to be decaf because I suffer from anxiety. So if I have anything caffeinated, I can feel it in my body. And yeah, but if I get anything from Starbucks, excuse me, my favorite drink would be a caramel macchiato upside down with whipped cream or a white chocolate mocha.
Upside down, so that means they put like the whipped cream on the bottom? Is that what that means?
No, it normally comes with foam. I don't like the foam. So normally they put the caramel on top, and so they'll put the caramel at the bottom.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Cool. All right.
Hi, Jared. Pronouns, all of the above, every one of them. Bingo, you're a winner. Yes. And I don't really mess with tea, coffee, caffeine products, anything, right? Normally I'm just water, constantly water, everyday water, right? Leah will occasionally make the tea only because, and I will drink it only because he wants me to do, as a couple, he wants me to share the space. But I don't like tea. Like I don't like caffeine. I just don't like how it makes me feel, right? Like it's the, it increases blood, like my blood pressure go up. I feel like myself, it works as a diuretic. It's not. I've never really liked coffee or like tea and how it makes you feel. However, a long time ago, before I had a dairy allergy, right? Before I started caring about myself like that, right? There in the Philippines, we used to it used to be a big deal with our family. We had this thing called pandesal. I don't know if it's like pan with salt, basically. Yeah, bread. Yeah, sorry, bread pan. Yeah. We would always dip it into this Filipino coffee, right? The fizz decaf. It was it was mostly milk and mostly sugar, right? There's like 1% caffeine, right? Like 1% like coffee, right? And it was just it was always a really fun childhood treat that I experienced. I loved it all the time. So I guess I say that to say that when I do have coffee, it's 0% coffee.
Okay, interesting. All right, Kreger.
I'm Kreger, he, they, and like you all, I have a story. Of course, I've got a story. And so because I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work, I used to think that I had to have all this caffeine because I'm, working all day. And so I used to drink, probably between 4 to 6 cups a day. But then in 2022, after I got COVID, I developed arrhythmia or AFib. And so at that point, I cut back to 1 cup of coffee per day, just in case all that caffeine was having anything to do with the arrhythmia. And so now I'm at basically 1.5 cups a day, but anything beyond that, and I'm just like, oh, no.
Yeah.
No sugar. I just drink it black.
Okay.
And we grind our beans every morning for coffee.
I used to do that. Now I'm just usually drinking instant. Starbucks has a good instant.
Yeah.
Decaf and regular. Anyway, tonight we are talking about LGBTQ plus rights in politics today, and specifically I want to talk about what's called the Establishment Clause, or the freedom of religion clause, and how it affects us. I went to a online conference about religious liberty and LGBTQ rights. And one of the things that I want to just start out by pointing out is that in the law, in today's politics, those are usually set against each other. And I personally think that's the most disturbing, one of the most disturbing things that's going on in relationship to our rights today. Religious liberty, I think, is a foundation for our principles. And let me just read you what the Establishment Clause actually says. Congress shall pass no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting free expression thereof. That's the main part of it. So I find it pretty disturbing that has been used against LGBTQ plus people. There's been a couple of cases in fairly recent times. The most recent one against LGBTQ plus people in the at the Supreme Court didn't actually have to do with the Establishment Clause, and that was about a web designer who wanted to, who hadn't even had gay people approach them, but they wanted to have this electronic, this virtual sign that says we refuse to serve certain customers, and that was based on a free speech law instead. But I'm sure you remember the cases like the cake designer who didn't want to do a wedding cake for gay people, and then there was also a case that I think is super significant, where a Catholic adoption agency wanted to exclude LGBTQ plus people, and so those are really setting some negative precedents. So I think in my perspective, the most disturbing thing is that they're using religion and they're using the law about religion to say we can discriminate. So tell me your thoughts about this, or your perspectives. Yes, Suzette.
I wouldn't want to do business with someone who had, I mean, I can't change how somebody thinks, but why would I want someone to make my cake? I mean, I realized it was a principle-based thing where they were, saying that this shouldn't be okay with the law, that these people don't want to bake my cake because I'm gay. I would be like, I don't need your cake. I'd go down the road to somebody who was, like to make cakes for gay people, probably be better. But I just think that, we need to do as much as we can to bridge understanding, but to also not kick dirt in people's faces. I think that, enough already with the you need to treat me equal. I understand all of it, and it's gotten to the point where people are just too divided and too fragmented, and they're not really thinking about, the basis of who we are as human beings. They're just being silly because they have a belief and they want to keep their belief, and I'm not going to change it. So I'm going to use the law or religion or whatever it takes to protect this belief. And, a lot of us have worked really hard for our freedoms, and past generations have fought for us and for our rights and our religious rights and all of that. But it just, I'm going to pick my battles. And if it's about a cake, I'm going to just keep walking,
Well, I think, like you said, I mean, this is just my opinion, but I mean, a cake, I mean, that definitely set a precedence.
I remember that.
And they said this can, I mean, basically, I mean, the decision was like, yeah, it's okay to discriminate in the name of religion, which I
They
think is.
upheld it.
But then, I mean, let's just use, for example, the other example. I mean, if you are wanting to adopt in a certain state or a certain location, and this Catholic adoption agency is the only one in your state or in your town, then, I mean, you don't have a choice to go down the street to another adoption agency unless you have tons of money and can do a private adoption. But if you want to foster or adopt, I mean, that's a lot bigger than a piece of cake.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly. That's what I was saying.
So I think we need to, I think they need to be looked at all in the same way, because it is setting a precedence. And I think particularly we as LGBT, as queer people of faith, I think we have a right to our religious freedom. And I think it is time to stop this binary. I think it's us against them. It's, this is one issue. It's religion against gays is absolutely the wrong dichotomy. I think we have to be recognized as people that may have faith. I mean, just because, that we can have faith. Just because we are queer doesn't mean that we're not people of faith and not necessarily Christian. And I think that's one of the issues here, is that this is where religious pluralism comes in. I mean, we have to respect people of other faiths as well. These laws affect so much. I'm talking too much. So somebody else tell me what you're thinking.
Well, I don't know. I have, it starts with a cake, and then the next thing you know, it's the seat on the bus that Rosa Parks took one time, and then where does it end? And so I think, yes, you can absolutely legislate morality. We've done it time after time. You can legislate what the right thing is to do. Now, not everybody is always going to go by it, but you can put it on the books. And to just say that you can discriminate against a gay person for any reason is wrong. I don't care whether it's a cake or a seat on the bus or, and I agree with Suzette. I don't necessarily want to go to someone, if they have a sign on the window that says, I don't want to serve gays, they might pee in my cake. I have no idea. So I'm probably not going to go there. But,
Right.
if I choose to have them make one, then they bloody well need to make one for me. I just feel like that. Because
Yeah.
I don't understand the inability to not hate, or the inability. Yeah, I'm trying not to use double negatives, but the inability of people, because like I put up a post about me participating in the drag bingo and got some comments on my timeline. Of course, I've blocked those people, but they just you're not a Christian. That's not a Christian. And I'm like, I'm not even going to answer you. That's when I shut down, because I don't want to answer you. I think you're petty, and you don't deserve for me to spend my time trying to convince you differently if you're never going to open your mind up. So if you're not going to even engage the idea, you're just going to I don't know where these people come from. And I have three of them in my family that have and one of them's they're all very immediate family members that they cannot, and I won't argue with them. They cannot hear me. The hands are over the ears, the hands are over the eyes. They're shaking their heads. Yeah, how come you can't see this? My brother will just scream in your face, and I don't get it. Where do these people come from? We were born of the same mother. You know what I mean? Like, how is this possible that I'm related to somebody that is so different from me? And I don't understand it. I'm asking for God to give me understanding, because I don't understand it.
Yeah, that's a really hard place to be. That's a very hard place to be. And I thank God when I look at some of the people who are fighting this on a big scale, And one of the things, there was a lawyer that presented at this conference that I was talking about, and she headed a group called the Law, Rights, and Religion Project, which is a law center based at Columbia that promotes the freedom of religion, religious pluralism, and social justice. And one of the other speakers was talking about checking out all these websites where people were, the other side, the conservative side, and the people who put forth these things, including one, I looked up the Lutheran Center for Religious Liberty, which sounds like something I would, I grew up Lutheran, and oh my goodness, they're definite, that doesn't really fit my idea of what religious liberty is. It's just quite the opposite. Okay, Jared or Leo, whichever one has your hand up.
What I don't understand is like, how is it that we can put laws against drag queens reading books to children, but we seem to not be able to pass laws against children buying handguns or semi-automatic weapons, even with a fake ID. So I just don't, I don't understand that,
It's I mean, 2006 was a very important time that we like to underplay. Because like what I see, although like I see that there are so many people who haven't been open to the idea of the LGBTQI community being a valid community. After 2006, whenever they legalized gay marriage and stuff, generally, wow, the culture, the way people talked about us, it shifted, right? And it was over the course of years, yes. But it started moving in a direction where, like in the Bible Belt, it became a little bit more of a okay thing. So sometimes, right? I say that to say that sometimes in my experience, as a gay person in the Bible Belt, I find that silly people who are ignorant, although they are, will yell at you online, will do all this messed up stuff with you behind closed doors, right? They become a lot less brazen, and they live in a little bit more fear and respect whenever there are laws that are protecting, right? Whenever there are laws that are normalizing, right? The conversation of being gay shifted from in-your-face gay jokes, right, to behind closed doors microaggressions, right, at that time period. And although I did like how up and open and honest and upfront the pre-2006 time period was, with how easy it was to know who was actually an ally and who wanted to kill you, right? And now we have to maneuver that in this day and age. I like the fact that bad people are living in fear of doing the wrong thing and getting canceled. I like that. That brings me joy. That's how it's supposed to be.
So far,
the way-
I don't know one person that has died, that has lost their job, that's been unable to support their family, but been unable to vote or anything since Paul and I got married back in 2016. Not one person that I'm aware of has been injured by that. And so you're right. We need to start looking at legislation about semi-automatic weapons before we start saying, oh, it's worse for a drag queen to read to a child than it is for that child to go to school and die that day. What the hell?
Yeah. Lynn, what have you seen in terms of changes over over your lifetime?
Wow, that's a loaded question. um,
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. We
yeah,
can
well,
come back.
being a person of color who is black and born in the era of Jim Crow, um, and having progressed all the way through that to today, um, my gayness was never at the forefront of something that I worried about. Um, because I was busy, trying to navigate the predominantly white world that I worked in, where I was the only black or one of few, in the room. Um, and so the thing that I know is that it's not the law; it is the interpretation of the law, and that's the law exists. We can legislate morality, like Craig said, but if you get the wrong judge, then that we got the wrong judges on the Supreme Court who overturned, Roe versus Wade. And so it's not the law; it's people's hearts. And what I have seen, to answer your question, is um, we can't just lump everybody in one big pile and say, that everybody feels that way. Um, and so we have to make changes, to hope to make changes, one individual at a time. I can't worry about, like I said, I wouldn't want to go to a baker who had a sign posted that said, I don't want to serve gays. Just like, you know, colored water fountains and colored restrooms, and not being able to walk, inside um, a school because it's for whites only. So it's really not complicated. It's just that you have to think about it at one person at a time. There are always going to be bad people out there, there and you may not necessarily be able to change their minds about you, and there's nothing you can do about that. It's beyond your control. But fundamentally, on a fundamental level, for me, I just stay away from people who are unable to connect nature to spirituality. And by that I mean we're all born of God. God created, you know, humans, and we're all our blood all is the same color. There's no difference in me or you, except the melanin or your lack of it. Our blood runs red, when we're all gonna die, and no one's gonna live forever. So we have to think. I think of it mostly on a human level, and so if I can, change one mind, is kind of like when I was telling you about going through the line at McDonald's and paying for the person behind me. Well, maybe that person still doesn't like black people, or maybe that person, still doesn't care about gay people if I have a rainbow sticker on my car. But I made a difference that day, something for that person to think about. And so I think it's, um, small, random acts of kindness, I think, is what we all have to do. I mean, and I didn't come to
Push the
this
darkness back a little bit.
easy. Yeah, you're not going to change certain people's minds, but if you can start to change their hearts, and I think that's where it is. And Jesus calls us to love. And it's hard. It's the hardest thing to do. I know it's not. So we gotta even love
Amen.
love those that despitefully use you, that persecute you, right? So
And I think that's a really good point about what you said about just, changing individual lives, but you also made some good points about the laws, like the segregation laws that allowed some minds to start changing. In other words, like there were some white people who had never been around black people until segregation was I mean, and that eventually changed minds, as well as Jared's example of like gay marriage as things started to change in terms of public opinion. Sorry, Suzette, I didn't mean to cut you off. Oh, I think you're muted.
You're muted.
But is there someone in our lives who maybe we have changed by our love and action? So we have family members who did not come to our wedding, and they're older, they're devout Christian. And whenever we have family get-togethers, they run to me and hug me, and they tell me they love me, and they know who I am, and they know who we are, and they didn't come to our wedding. But after the years of doing this, I wish I could just say, now that you know me, would you come to my wedding if you got invited today? Would that have made it? Just, I don't know. That's the thing that, I wish I could know, but I'm too afraid to ask.
Oh, I think
Well, I
you should
came to your
ask.
wedding and I had a great time. I had a great time because I danced at your wedding, and Paul and I just never thought the only person that danced at our wedding was Noe.
I had nothing.
And I got to dance at your wedding and I had a great time.
It was fun. But I just want to know, did I change your heart? Did I change your heart, or is that still a point of contention for you? Do you still consider me, or consider our relationship, a sinful relationship that you can't condone?
Not everyone who is of my generation was able to accept, because it's not what they were taught. It just wasn't. That generation, my parents, now I'm 72. So, my parents, I mean, just being gay was it was unheard of. It was talking about in the closet. They were in the closet, in the dark, in the back, under the rug, so I mean, consider their upbringing and what they learned. But the other thing that I've seen, it is hope because of young people who are just stood up, because of the young people who were able to stand up and say, we're not going to take it anymore. We're not going to be mistreated anymore. So I mean, it's the same thing with the civil rights movement in the 60s that I lived through. So there is hope.
Absolutely.
And I think we're just called to and then the other thing is there are people have an idea. They've never known maybe a gay person. And there's all this talk out there of what gay people are and what drag queens are, and they don't have any friends who. It's the same thing with being black. There are a whole lot of white people who never had black friends, were never close to any black person, didn't go to school with them, didn't live in a neighborhood with them. And so there is always the greatest fear that we have as humans is the fear of the unknown.
Absolutely.
And so if I don't know
that's
you,
responsibility too, for getting people who are different than us. Okay.
Right.
Okay, Leo and Jared, share what you're laughing about.
I agree with all the movements and all the laws that have been put in place, such as like being able to get married, have brought about a lot of good change, because me being Mexican, and we're always having Mexican parties, and we celebrate always, like, dancing is a big thing in our culture. And I never thought that I was going to get married and have someone that I love dance with me at a Mexican party. I never thought that. That never crossed my mind. And now, thank God that we are here today, and I can tell you, I will go to any party that they invite me, and I'm gonna dance with my husband. Whoever liked it, it's fine. Whoever's against it, oh well, put up.
Right, right. That's exactly right. And
Right.
you just have to be bold enough to stand in your truth and not worry about, because you absolutely cannot control what others think.
Yes.
Um, yeah. I
Or
was married at Francis and I were married at Resurrection um in 2015 and in the chapel. And I, there were some people that I invited that I thought would be happy for me,
Yeah.
and would would come to the wedding, and they didn't. But I extended the invitation. Yeah, I wrote that. I mailed them an invitation that said when it was going to be, and they didn't. They didn't come. But those who were there, we had a wonderful time. It was a beautiful. Reverend Mike married us. It was a beautiful wedding, and so what? For those who didn't come, I feel like they missed out on something. So you just can't. Number one, live and let live is what I was brought up to believe. And it kind of like just mind your own business, and I'm not trying to get in your business, and I don't. And if I invite you into mine, okay, but I'm not going to allow you to make me feel less than.
Yeah.
And that's and with this face and the years that I have had to endure, that when people make judgments about me just because of the color of my skin, never heard me say a word, don't know what my education level is, whether I'm gay or whether I'm straight or Democrat or Republican or anything. um, I've just had to learn to walk in that, in my own truth, and not worry about what others think.
That's true. When it comes to legal battles, and political votes, I think we need to be cognizant of other people's rights too, not just our own. And I think we can really we can really walk the talk if when we extend a concern, a vote, political pressure, however that looks, or whether it's a personal thing, defending somebody else's rights that may not be, that may not be something that affects us directly, like some indigenous rights have been really stepped on in using this law, using this
Right.
establishment clause, saying that equating religious liberty with the right to discriminate. I think when we're looking at the big picture, and some examples, so things like people's um, uh, like clothing choices, like people being able to wear a hijab or whatever at the workplace, or like in prison. People that are imprisoned don't, a lot of times many of their rights are stripped away, and that's not a big political thing because a lot of people who are in prison are never able to vote again. And so the parties don't care, and so these things just keep snowballing, and they become all these laws that come out of this precedent. And I think we're seeing a lot of the laws that RFRA is the big it is the name of the ones that, of the laws that tend to you use that thinking that religious liberty means the right to discriminate. And a lot of states are adopting what they call mini RFRAs. Sorry, I'm trying to remember what that stands for. Maybe y'all know. But Religious Freedom Restoration Acts. And to me, just saying that religion gives you the right to discriminate is just anti-Christian and anti what I think about as Christ consciousness, as following Christ's way. I think that's just opposite. But in terms of politics, since we are coming up on this big election, I think I don't know of any. I think all of these laws have been put forward by one political party. And I'm not going to say it, but I think I think you know what I'm saying. So when we take a stand, I think it's important to stand for everyone's rights, and speak out, and not just speak for. If we're talking about religious liberty, we're not just talking about Christians, because I think that's what the issue is with Christian nationalism, is that people are trying to hold on to power and just hang on to the status quo. And
it's not Christian. There's nothing Christian about that. It's just nationalism. Yeah, you can forget the Christian. It's not Christian.
Yeah, it's not
Christian means Christ-like. So I never could put those two words together. So it's just nationalism. And they're using, religion as an excuse. Remember, the right, the political right started with the moral majority, and they were neither moral nor were they the majority. And I think that this election will show who the real majority is. And I think that the tide will begin to turn after this election. It'll either turn for the better or it will turn for the worse. But the majority is going to have to stand on November the 5th.
And here I am. All I want to know is if Leo and Jared dance the cumbia when they go out, when they dance it. You do the cumbia?
We went to Orleans, right? We went to New Orleans, and they were playing. We were walking the strip on Bourbon, and we heard a club playing salsa, and I was like, I want to go there. And then got in, they started playing cumbia, and no one was dancing. No one was really dancing. It was like one couple, and then we went on the dance floor. We started dancing, and it was cumbia. It was Selena. They were playing Selena, and we started dancing. And let me tell you, like, everybody started dancing, which it felt great. It was awesome. Yeah.
Dancing like singing is contagious.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in our actual practice, right? Like whenever, like, I could just to disclose a little bit, like I found actually, right, just like that situation where all it takes is people to like sit, and actually model this fun for everybody to catch on to. I found tremendous growth in my personal workplace, because I work with trans clients, and in an inpatient type setting, and also the LGBTQI plus community also as well. But whenever we, in the beginning, it was like the staff was like, I don't know how do pronouns, how do I exist, right, when in the same space, right? Like, and just the act of modeling, right? And also modeling openness and just presenting my normal flamboyant self, right? And just the act of consistent conversation and open communication about these issues without shame, blame, guilting, or whatever, right? I can say 100% our staff has come a long way in the treatment of our community, right? Like, I can say it is, and it started off as oh, this is a little rough here, to an LGBTQI plus affirming, and not even just affirming, but actually embracing space, and like that took, that took years of consistent modeling of the behavior, right? For other people to catch on that like it's like treat people as they are, but also like with a little bit of education, right? Like you
Yes.
too can learn how to walk and dance the same dance that you see Jared dancing with everybody else.
The first year that he was at his job, they didn't allow him to display a pride flag, right? But then this last year, they said that it was okay, and we were able to display our pride flag
during the Pride Parade.
Yes. So it's like, oh, so they've come a long way.
I thought you worked primarily with LGBTQ plus people.
So
Is that not true?
Yes. So we work. It is in female, but also any trans community member only. Rehab, right? So essentially, right, like it is a huge space where we have a lot of anybody who has any sort of issues, right, would come in. And but oftentimes we accept like a lot of other, every other rehab, right, inpatient setting in like Texas does not accept trans people. So we get the entire trans community that wants to rehabilitate themselves, like the entire trans community, because we're the only option, right? And so it ends up where this space, because of the services it provides, ends up to being an actual LGBTQI plus haven, right? Because whenever you bring the trans community, you really bring people who can't help but model the LGBTQI plus community. With a lot of the other sexualities and sexual spectrum, right? Gayness can be hidden a lot easier, right? But like trans people, our trans sisters and brothers, they are who they are, right? And that offends people. And so it's like, well, whenever you have a consistent amount of trans people, seeking help, like it becomes, you either get people with strong reactions against, or you get people finally feeling like they have permission to be their best selves. All in the same.
Really, that's just a beautiful way to put that. And I really like, especially what you said about modeling. And I think that really speaks to how it's just important to be our authentic selves and speak up and just bringing this back to God talk to talk. That's our whole Christian story. It's all about the incarnation, about God becoming enfleshed, and I think that's what's important here, is that God is still being enfleshed in our queer, in our trans bodies, in our in our whole selves. God is still being enfleshed, incarnated. So I think we've covered a lot of issues here tonight, and
when do we not?
Really, y'all just fire me up. I'm really
thoughtfully, and in a way that offers discovery for everyone.
Yes.
I could probably say some of the same things that Jared said, since I've been working at Aetna now. It was Prudential when I started, but I've been there for over 30 years. And just by showing up and being my happy, go lucky gay self for 30 years, and now in team meetings and everything, when Pride Month rolls around, the team is actually celebrating that it's Pride Month. And,
Yeah.
you know, like you said, they're not just being nice. They really care. They really care about me, I feel. And that's because, you always model the behavior that you would like to have coming back at you. And so just modeling kindness and respect for the jobs that they do, and that they do good work. And I come to work and I work my butt off. And so just having that, modeling that back and forth, it really helps build that long-term change in somebody. So we might, like Lynn said, we're not going to get everybody.
Right.
We're not going to get everybody, but those in our most inner circle, we can touch and we can have influence, just as they're having influence on us.
Right.
Our coworkers and my coworkers have influence on me too. So
Right. That's it. For the majority of my career, I'm in an 8 to 5 world. Before I got into education, I had this persona from 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, and then I lived my life from 5 until the next morning. And I wasn't trying to hide who I was. I mean, I still had the masculine tendencies that I've always had, since I realized that I was gay. I was still living, with a woman. I was still a lesbian, but I just was me without saying that I was me. I wasn't in the closet. I just was me. And what I found is that served me best. And I just kept on going to work, and eventually they learned to like me, and I didn't step on anybody's toes, and they didn't step on my toes either, even when they found out that I was gay. So um I think you just have to be yourself, which is not always easy. you know I can tell you that I have friends who were in the closet, in the back, in the dark, under the rug, for a long time, because they worried about their job. I
Yeah,
mean,
there were
they worried
legitimate,
about what
there
people
still
were
are
going to
some
think.
legitimate fears.
So it takes a lot of courage to do that. But I think that is what God calls us to do, and we are able to do that when we realize that God made me too.
here you go, Lynn.
Ah,
Right.
Does that look like the word courage on your end? Because it's backwards on my camera.
Yes, I can read it.
Right.
Yes, it does. It looks like courage. It does.
Yes.
It does.
That was my word, I think, for, I don't know, 2020. I forgot, but Paul and I went to the store. We have all kinds of hearts. And I'm like, I need a word for this year. And I saw courage. That's what
Yeah,
I need.
courage. Right. That's what it takes.
Because of all the Wizard of Oz characters, I'm most like the Cowardly Lion.
Right. And yeah,
Whatever he was, a lion, or was
yeah.
it? Yeah, the Cowardly Lion.
It requires courage to do the right thing. It requires courage to do the right thing when no one's looking.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, and
Said.
I and
Well
and
said.
so we all have it. I think
And the
we all
people,
have it. We
yeah,
wouldn't be in this conversation. We wouldn't be showing up, I think, every week to talk about
So,
these things if we didn't.
yeah, so just think about the difference that one word makes. If I tell people that I'm a participant on God Talk, oh, okay, well, what. But if I tell people I'm a panelist on God Talk, that kind of elevates, like, I'm
like
meeting
that.
with the other panelists on God
Right,
Talk tonight, because we
right.
don't know how many YouTubers are going to watch this afterwards.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
That's
true.
true. I
Right.
love that panelists.
We're
Because
I
panelists on
like
God
that.
Talk.
words
like
make
that.
a difference. Words make a
Yeah,
difference.
so people ask, what are you doing on Thursday? Oh, well, I'm a panelist on God Talk. You can come to YouTube.
I like that.
Yes. Well, I think we're nearing the end of the hour, and we have a couple more meetings before the election, and we might have to talk about self-care afterwards. But we might keep it we'll just try to keep the topics relevant as we can. So if you have any special requests of topics or anything like that, feel free to forward them or whatever. But for tonight, let's I think we can just wrap it up with a prayer. Craig,
Amen.
would you do the
Holy
honor?
God, Holy God, Holy Spirit, we're just grateful for another session of God Talk. And, you know, if maybe this message tonight reaches 5 people, maybe 5,000, we don't know. We just don't know where this is going to go. But we're all in this room being honest, we're being open, and in some cases, we're being quite vulnerable. So we just ask you to bless that we have this opportunity to do this program. And we are panelists. We are panelists here because we just don't know if our words are going to help somebody down the road. So we're just grateful for the opportunity. And yes, we're coming into the election cycle, and we just ask for calm nerves on, the political ads aren't nearly as bad in Texas as I hear they are in them swing states. So we've got it kind of easy down here. But I'm sure people's nerves are just getting really, really tired of all the negativity. So help us through the home stretch. And for those of us that plan to get out there and early vote, be with us on whatever day we go. We encourage everybody to get out the vote. God, we just hope that you inspire people to go and vote. Everybody should go and vote and have their voice heard. And so we close our prayer tonight. We're just grateful for you breathing us in and out. We pray for those in the hurricane paths. There's been so much destruction in the Southeast and in Florida over the last few weeks. It's just horrifying to see all the pictures of people who've lost everything. So we ask for many blessings, and we ask for help from FEMA and Red Cross and all those organizations that can be on the ground and helping those people out. Why? Because we know what it's like, having been in Houston and been, the hurricanes Harvey and Ike and we know what it's like, God. So we just ask that you're with those people and just help them to breathe, take one breath at a time, one foot in front of the other. That's all you've got. That's all you've got in times like this. Be with us as we go forth through this weekend, and bring us back again next Thursday for yet another session of God Talk. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And thank God.
Thank you all. Much love.
And let us cumbia to get our heart rate up.
All right.
What's
Have a
that?
great rest of the week, everybody.
Leo and Jared, I'm going to be dancing at Drag Bingo. So I'm going to be coming out of my shell.
Okay.
And I heard you guys were having the young adults come and with a bunch of people at a table. So I was hoping that I get to wait your table, because I'll be running
You're
food
gonna
back and forth.
place, so good luck.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
All right,
Have
bye.
a great rest of the
Take care.
week. Bye.
Bye-bye.